Burn the tape. Sweep it under the rug is what Coach Jared Bednar said after an 8-2 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning that spoiled what was otherwise a perfect 4-game road trip for the Avalanche. They had won 3 straight going into this one. 5 goals given up in the first period. For the second time in 3 games, Justus Annunen has been pulled from a start prior to the first 20 minutes of the game being done and over with. Tampa Bay rolls over the Avalanche in their 2 meetings this year. Absolutely dominant from Tampa from start to finish. The Avs didn't have any legs. They had no answer to anything as we welcome you to Between the Pipes presented by Safeway. Alex Ryanemi alongside Mark Springer, as always, after every single Avalanche game. This one was ugly early. Only 3 teams now have given up 5 or more goals in the opening frame, and the Avalanche, well, they were the worst first period team in the entirety of the National Hockey League going into this game spring with 29 goals conceded in the opening period. They have now upped that number to 34. They take a commanding lead in a category that you necessarily don't want to be number 1 at.
Yeah, tonight is not going well. An 8-2 Avs loss. The Nuggets are down by 23 at home at the half to the Knicks. Tonight sucks. No Jonathan Drouin for the Avs tonight, but that doesn't explain a 6-goal loss. The goaltending was poor. Justus Annunen was bad. The Jake Gensel power play goal, man, that's just, he's swinging to the left, and it's just a basic shot on goal. It's towards the 5-hole, but you got to close that 5-hole. That's a routine save. That is a routine save. The Kucherov one-timer, I mean, I don't know how that goes through on it, and I thought he was there. He looked to be hugging the post, but it goes through him. Then he gets the yank. Georgiev comes in. He doesn't do much better. He does a little better. There's some breakdowns in front of him. A shorthanded goal that was a breakdown on the Avs power play. Goal 6 that goes in, Georgiev breaks his stick, or at least tries to break his stick. And that's on a goal where, you know, he's completely beat on a cross-ice pass on a one-timer. And I think that's more just like, guys, I need help. I can't do everything. I think that's frustration at his teammates. Miles Wood, from a non-goaltender perspective, but we're going to talk breaking sticks, he breaks one at the end of the first period that the broken stick hits Jared Bednar in the face. Now, I understand there's a lot of frustration when this team does hold itself to a high level, but broken sticks left and right tonight. I'm sure, it's got to be frustrating. The goaltending was poor. And Raj, I was looking before the show started, looking at contracts, guys who would make sense. I definitely want to get, it's going to be one of those nights where we get into that, Raj.
Why not? We have to end up talking about those things. And yes, Dahmer is right. Denver's having a case of the Mondays right now. The Nuggets, they had 2 points from their bench unit going into the half. They were down by 23 or 26 at the half, something like that. You said, Spring. It's been ugly all around. If you look at the whole of this 4-game road trip, if you told me they walk away with 6 out of a possible 8 points, I blindly accept it. So on the whole, it felt good, much like the Preparation H joke from Austin Powers, which I can't believe they didn't make one after Goldmember. It pisses me off to this day. Hold on, before I get into that, I want to feel good. Is Goldmember like the most quotable film of all time?
Well, I love all three. I love all three. I use clips from all three all the time, but somehow I guess I find myself, like when I'm producing for Nate and Andy, probably 1 and 3 are the ones where I end up using the most material from. 2 was good, but not on the level of 1 or 3.
I digress. The goaltending was very, very bad tonight, and we will get into that. We'll get into who's available. Is it Mackenzie Blackwood? Is it John Gibson? I'm not blaming this all on the goaltending tonight. The team in front of the goalies was atrocious. There was no get up from the start of this game. Bednar tried to spark it by taking on an out after he had given up 3 goals on 6 shots against to try and say, hey, I'm giving you a chance. If you can keep this to a 2-goal game, maybe we can get into the second period, which is where the Avs thrive. They thrive in the middle period. They give up a lot of goals on the bookends, but the second period, they dominate. They're like a top 5 team in the league in the middle frame. They just didn't have it. I thought the effort wasn't there. And as soon as they went down 4-1, right? Ivan brings it back to 2-1. There's a goal that happens just a minute later to make it 3-1. You're still in a game. As soon as it's a 3-goal game and you've given up 4 in the first, I think the entire team just goes, we're toast today. And we're going to mail it in. And it's game 22. I guess I can be okay with that. But what does need to happen, they need to figure out how to start hockey games on time, because they are statistically the worst in the National Hockey League at doing it. The only teams that are around them are teams that are going to be selecting 1, 2, or 3 in the upcoming draft. That's Pittsburgh, San Jose, and Columbus. You have Stanley Cup aspirations and you're in the same sentence as those 3 teams. That's a reality check.
Well, hold on. The Jackets have won 3 in a row and are red hot. I kid a little bit. Okay, you mentioned the 3 out of 4 on the road trip, and it's a salient point. It crossed my mind in that, look, they come away with 6 out of 8. If you're gonna, would you rather get blitzed and it's just never close from the start, really, or lose like Dallas did tonight? Dallas had a multi-goal lead in Carolina and ended up blowing that thing. But this is back-to-back for the Avs now, 4-game, either a homestand before or a road trip now. They were on a 4-game homestand. Now they just finished a 4-game road trip. They pick up all 2 points in the first 3 games of each of those 4 sequences. It's game 4 in which they didn't play well. The finale at home against Washington, which was an on-and-in start, and tonight in game 4 of the road trip. So, tired legs at the end of a long sequence, that can happen. The goaltending, once again, this is what is going to pop up tonight. This is going to be the topic. This is going to be what people dig their teeth into coming out of this game. But we've seen both Georgiev and Onanen have bad performances and then come back and have good performances. Onanen can't seem to get the big win against the good teams. Anytime he starts against an elite level team, he hasn't gotten a win yet in his career. Mid to below, he's played well. He's probably not quite ready yet, even though I've liked what I've seen in stretches. He's 24 years old, hasn't had overly consistent run. He's probably not ready. So, look, it's Georgiev's job right now. He's reassumed it by default. And so the question becomes, as we go deeper into the season and start looking towards the playoffs, who is the other goalie you want to have with Georgiev? If it's deemed that a young 24-year-old, it's not something you want to trust in the playoffs. And that's where we can get to the options out there if you would like.
I firmly believe that they should make a move. I don't know if they're going to. And I think that they need to make a move for 2 reasons. I believe that the team needs to see something different behind them that isn't Kaapo Kakkonen, that isn't an also-ran journeyman goaltender that is maybe trying to either stay in the league or establish his footing, which is what Georgiev was brought here to do, which is what Justus Onanen has been brought up in the organization to do. Yes, you need better goaltending. One, the team in front of them, I don't care. They could have put the thumbnail for tonight's video was Jonas Johansson. It doesn't matter who was in net tonight. You were going to get shellacked. You could have put Patrick Waugh, Carey Price, for all I care. You were going to lose. You were bad tonight, and Tampa Bay stomped you. And luckily, you don't have to see them until maybe a cup final, right? That's the only other time that you're going to see Tampa Bay for the rest of the year. Thank God, because it's a horrible matchup as of right now for the Avs. There are 2 goalies out there. Mackenzie Blackwood is one with San Jose, and the other is John Gibson. And while John Gibson has not been elite in some time, I still think that there's a chance that the reason why he hasn't been elite is because he's been stuck in Anaheim with a crap team around him with no talent that's actually turning into something, because they thought that Trevor Zegras was a real hockey player, and he's not. Troy Terry's great, don't get me wrong. I love Mintyukov, the new young defenseman. For them, they're really big on Lucas Dostal, but they put all of their eggs into the Zegras basket when they should have been going around Carlson and Terry and Gauthier, like those types of players. They're starting to do that now, which means they're going to have to move on from John Gibson, who is in the 6th year of an 8-year extension worth $6.4 million. If you can get Anaheim to eat 50% of that $6.4 million, it brings him down to 3.2. I would trade Georgiev right now to them. I would sweeten it with either a current rostered player, a current or a future first-round pick, or I would hate to do this. It might cost you Callum Ritchie. But if you don't make a move, I fear that it sends the wrong message to the team spring.
Okay, well, we'll start with John Gibson. You brought him up a lot. 31 years old. Has 2 years.
Colorado Sports Fanatic. If you say Tristan Jarry one more time, I swear to God, I'll ban you from the chat.
It's
that
funny
guy
when
is
I was
horrible.
When
I
was
terrible.
looking at, I pulled up, I sorted goalies by contracts and was going, guys who are on teams that are probably not contenders. You start there. Guys who teams will give up because they don't need them. And when I got to Jarry, like on one hand, it was like, yeah, some of that makes sense. But on the other hand, he's making $5.375 million for the next 3 years after
I don't want
this.
any part
And
of
he's
Tristan Jarry.
not very good. He's okay, but I wouldn't invest that money over that time in that goaltender. So you can cross him off the list. Makes absolutely no sense. Okay. I mean, look at what Pittsburgh is doing right now. It ain't all like Jarry's part of the problem. John Gibson has one less year on his deal than Jarry. That's good. He's a little more expensive, though. He's about $1 million more expensive than Jarry. You could probably get Anaheim to eat some of that, a la Kemper. And that it does become a possibility because John Gibson, who has been oft injured in recent years, but he's back from injury now. And he's started 4 games since he's returned. On November 10th, he returned. In 3 of his 4 starts, he's only allowed 2 goals. He's allowed 2 goals in 3 of his 4 starts. His 4th start, he allowed 4 goals, but the Ducks won that game despite him allowing 4 goals. So he's 3-1. One of the 2 that he allowed, or one of the 3 that he allowed to, they lost in overtime. That was their last game to Buffalo. The Ducks are playing right now. They're down 1-0 at home to the Kraken in the first period. Lukas Dostal is starting that one, not John Gibson. So, okay, if John Gibson is right, hey, he seems to be right now. He's putting up pretty good numbers in his 4 games back. But we've seen stretches where he's either hurt or not playing well. So there's an element of risk involved for a guy that you'd be paying at least $4 million to, and that's pricey for an Avs goaltender. So then you can go to, a Mackenzie Blackwood, who you brought up, who's just over $2 million and is a UFA at the end of this year. Now, if Gibson's right, he's the best option. But if he's not, given the risk involved, do you play it safer and just not, you don't want to commit as much money, $4+ million, you go more $2 million in that range for a Blackwood, who might not give you the true upside of a Gibson, but it's just a safer financial play.
I just wonder if Mackenzie Blackwood is more of what they have. That's my big question, is who is Mackenzie Blackwood truly? Because if you look at his stats, there's nothing there that makes you really excited outside of the season in 2019-2020, where he had a .915 save percentage and a .277 goals against average when he won 22 games and 47 starts. Ever since then, even when he was with New Jersey, he's posted goals against averages north of 3, save percentages south of 900 in every single year since then. Yes, he played for San Jose last season. Yes, he played for New Jersey when they underperformed 2 years ago. I love the upside of John Gibson more than Blackwood. It's a gamble. Do not get me wrong. It is a complete gamble if you try and go get that player. But I think it's worth it from a spark standpoint, from a message standpoint. Once again, I'll say it. This is the last time I'll say it tonight. The goalies were not the main reason why he lost the game. The team was crap in front of them. I still think it's a move that you must make. And Anaheim is a team with all of the cap space in the world, they would eat 50% of this in the right deal. The issue is they might be able to drive a bidding war now with Carolina because Carolina is down 2 starting netminders.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Other options. I mean, there's Mackenzie Blackwood's netmate, Vitek Vanacek, who had been hurt last week, but he's back now. He's okay. Blackwood's got a little higher upside considering the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood was at one point one of the more heralded young goaltenders, hasn't quite lived up to that. Vanacek's a little more, you know what you're going to get. And he's about the same price as Blackwood. And both of them are UFAs at the end of the season. I'll get to that in a second, too. Peter Mrazek, who we saw play well in Denver for the Blackhawks, has 1 year after this on his deal at $4.25 million. It could be maybe you could get them to eat some of that. Connor Ingram with the hockey club, and he's cheap. He's like under $2 million and has a season of club control after this. Now, you'd have to wait on that for hockey club to come to the conclusion that they aren't going to be in this thing, which will happen. But right now they're around 500. It's November. They're going to think they're in it until 2025 comes around. And another thing I was looking at too, man, dude, Logan Thompson, we saw him with the Capitals.
Oh, dude, if Logan Thompson's available, he's my number one. He'd be my number one target.
Man, you're going to need Washington's playing well. There was some, Florida disappointed tonight. Washington went in and beat them. Dude, they got him. He is under $1 million.
I like Logan Thompson.
And they got him for 2 third-round picks. So I'm thinking to myself, how did the Avs not make that move? Well, maybe Vegas just said, no way, we're trading you to Colorado. No way. Wish they could have gotten Logan Thompson for under $1 million. That would have been awesome. So Vanacek, Mrazek, Connor Ingram, a couple other names. If John Gibson's right, though, he has the potential to be that goaltender that they've been looking for.
Johnny Gibson has the highest ceiling of any goaltender that you just mentioned. John Gibson has damn near Vezina ceiling. I don't know if it's still there at 31 and all of those injuries you mentioned, but he has the highest ceiling of all of those goalies.
There was a point where he was one of the better American goaltenders just a few years ago, and he's never played meaningful hockey in his NHL career. There's something to be said about a player, a goalie or a skater, but in this case, a goalie who's never played meaningful games, who has played very well in his career and still has prime left. He very well might at 31 for them to finally play meaningful hockey behind an Avs team that is pretty damn good. That could spark Gibson as well. But man, I mean, if you could get them to eat half down to $3 million or so, now we're talking.
I completely agree. 3.2, and then you'd have Eustace in there. Eustace is under $1 million, right? Or is he just $1 million on the nose?
Yeah, no, he's cheap. He's very cheap.
That's a cheap goalie room. That's what you have to do to win here in Denver with all of those expensive contracts that are on the books and also coming up with Mikko's extension and Kale's extension the year after that. I think they need to do it. You would probably have to move Georgiev to make it work, but like Anaheim wouldn't mind taking Georgiev on an expiring deal. It's not something that would be an issue for them whatsoever. They're at the bottom of the league. I think they're second. They have the second most cap space in the entire NHL outside of Columbus. And there's a reason why Columbus has the lowest because of the tragedy that happened. As I see, did I just see a mouse scurry across the floor here at the office? Oh my God. Yes, I did.
Oh man. Yeah, we have.
He's adorable. Look at this little dude.
I wonder if that's the same mouse or a different mouse.
Dude, he's a cute little mouse. He's chill. He's like 6 feet outside. He's just darting around underneath. There's this huge TV outside in the common room right now.
Well,
this is how much I care. This is how much I care to talk about tonight's game because it was such crap. I'd rather talk about the mouse scurrying outside my office.
Oh, I would too. Get a camera on that thing and get a mouse cam on between the pipes. That's gonna
go get a GoPro and zip it around.
That's gonna scare the shit out of somebody in the morning. Mosier, somebody is gonna freak when they see that thing. Even though I've seen it, yeah, it's a harmless little bugger.
Spring, is there anything positive you can say about tonight's game?
Yes, one thing and one thing only, Raj. And it's actually the same word twice. Ivan. That's the positive from tonight's game.
Goal.
Yes, 2 goals. Goal for Ivan tonight. I was rooting for him to get a hat trick. And Ivan gets a hat trick in a blowout loss. He was the guy with Drouin out who gets the nod to go into the top 6. He's been the best, the highest upside looking of the bottom 6 players, outside of like an O'Connor who has flashed up there in the past. And he scores a couple nice goals. Nichushkin assists on both. Nichushkin, the first one, and it's a shame. This was the best Nichushkin look tonight too, I thought. Driving to the net, putting that puck on Vasilevsky, and Ivan cleans it up. Sad night that Nichushkin and Ivan were not rewarded for their good night on the second line.
I agree. My one positive from tonight is not necessarily from the game spring. It's from the road trip as a whole. You kind of expect to have one of these not go your way. Maybe you don't expect it to be 8-2 or certainly 5-1 after the first period of play. But if you look up at the standings, you're just 2 points behind the Dallas Stars. Granted, Dallas has 2 games in hand, but you have a head-to-head matchup with them coming up in just a couple of nights. Minnesota, who is off to a torrid start, is just 3 wins ahead of you. Winnipeg, who can't seem to lose, and I think they might beat Minnesota tonight. They're not entirely out of reach right now. They're just 10 points ahead of you. It might be 12 by the end of the day. But you look up after this at 12-10 with the horrible start to the season, with yet another bad goaltending performance this evening and a bad start. Those are issues they need to fix. You need to fix goaltending, and you need to fix how you come out of the gates. They do not start on time, and eventually it's going to kill them when they make it to the playoffs. They will eventually not be able to come back from a bad start like this. Those are things that you do have time to fix. But you look up at the standings, and you're right there, despite all of the atrocities that have happened when it comes to what you think of what this team should be right now. I'll take that as a positive. 6 of 8, good job.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, and this team is more than capable of turning it around because they've already done it several times this season. On Wednesday night against Vegas on TNT in primetime. That's the thing. We've seen Georgiev and it'll be Georgiev now. It'll be Georgiev in net.
Yep.
Wednesday
night. This is
night.
his chance to retake. You want to move away from 1A, 1B, Georgie? This is your chance.
Yeah, no, you get your job. He probably already has based on Onninen's poor performance tonight, but go. He had a 9-10 save percentage 2 years ago. And he's still in his prime. It's there for Alexander Georgiev. He's frustrated coming in relief tonight. Now he'll get the start. And, this is what this team is going to do, unfortunately, because of the unsteadiness at goal. And look, Georgiev will have good games. He will have bad games. So as much as I'd like to think that this team is capable of those 5 to 10 game win streaks, the goaltending is going to collapse every so often. And they're going to have, they'll win a couple and then they might get blitzed. It's just the way it's going to go. But there's no reason to believe. There's no reason not to believe that with Dallas coming up, who blew one tonight, and let's get to that NHL scoreboard, Raj, because this was a struggle night for a lot of good teams in the NHL. The New York Rangers, the Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars, the Wild had an awakening tonight. Vegas gets 2 points, but it took a scrappy effort in Philly. This is a competitive league. For the Lightning tonight, I mean, this was Hockey Fights Cancer night for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. And they're about a 500 team, but there's still talent there. You can't tell me Vasilevsky still isn't one of the top 3 goalies in this league. There with Shesterkin and Hellebuck. Vasilevsky is absolutely right there. There's still talent despite moving on from Stamkos and a few others over the past few years. They add a Gensel. They got a Hagel, who was a young guy that when they traded for, they knew he could step up. The Lightning, for them tonight, this is a big win. Give credit to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who at home on Hockey Fights Cancer night, they brought a very good performance. They were strong tonight. It's a tough league if you look at the scores tonight. I mean, this was parity night and then some.
Jets get the Wild 4-1. This thing was tied early on, but the Jets now have their 18th win in 22 games to start the year, rather 21 games now for Winnipeg. 36 points is insane through 21 games. It's just nuts. The Wild, despite putting 44 shots on net, just scored 1 tonight. The Red Wings double up the Islanders on the road, and the Wings need wins because Derek Lalonde's seat was red hot. The Senators get a 4-3 win over the hot Flames, right? Like that's, you're talking about parity. The Sens have struggled. The Flames have not. You get the 4-3 win at home. The Hurricanes overcome a deficit. Both teams have started off really well between Carolina and Dallas, but they come back after giving up a goal 18 seconds into this game to Tyler Seguin, and they win pretty comfortably 6-4 with an empty netter. Vegas should have gotten beat tonight. Philly let them off the hook.
They did, yeah. But, Vegas is a scrappy team, and we'll see that on Wednesday night. They escaped with the Jack Eichel shootout goal. That's all that they needed in the shootout. They killed a 4-on-3 in that overtime to get to the shootout. But we saw the Avs go into Philly and win in regulation. So it's just a tough league. How about Jim Montgomery?
Monty, the head coach bump, baby. It's a real thing in the NHL. If you guys don't know about this yet, whenever a head coach in the league gets fired and a new guy takes over, whether it's interim or like Monty signing a 5-year deal just 5 days after the Boston Bruins got rid of him, more often than not, the team with they call it the new head coach bump, they win. Like those are things, if you guys are wagerers to keep your eyes open for, yeah, it worked tonight.
I mean, Joe Sacco's 2-0 with the Boston Bruins. They'll host the Canucks tomorrow night. So Sacco's going to try to go 3-0, and then Monty 1-0 with the Blues, who that game was tied at 2 in New York, and the Blues end up winning 5-2. They get an empty netter and 2 even strength goals. And I'm looking on NHL Twitter tonight, and Rangers fans are freaking out. Jacob Trouba getting called out for a lack of effort on one of those Blues goals. Matt Rempe, and then Matt Rempe, the big bully, recalled from the AHL, and he lays a stupid, unnecessary hit on a Blues player in the neutral zone on a dead play.
I think it was Jake Neighbors.
Yeah, it looked like Jake Neighbors. Okay, so the Rangers are kind of going through one tonight, just like the Avs, 2 of the better teams in the league.
Devils beat the Predators 5-2. They were down in this game. They got a natural hat trick in the second period from Captain Nico Hischier. They put 46 shots on goal against Nashville. The Predators cannot claw their way out of the hole that they've started for them. That's a team that might be too far gone. If they don't make a coaching change or make a couple of trades, I would be shocked. Maybe Barry Trotz has said it. He goes, if we can't climb out of this, I might have to look into rebuild mode. Unfortunately, what I wish was happening is they still had Yaroslav Oskarov in Nashville, because then I would scream from the mountaintops for the Avalanche to go get UC Saros. They're not going to move on from both of those goaltenders, so Saros is not an option to go get, and that happens because of the moves this offseason. The Capitals beat the Panthers 4-1. Talk about parity spring. Caps without Ovi. They go into Florida. The Cats now, the Florida Panthers have lost 4 straight.
Yeah, it's Lars Eller scores twice. One of them's an empty netter, but nonetheless, former Av. He was awful with the Avs, but here he is scoring twice for the Caps tonight. No Ovi, like you said. That's a surprise win. And then Florida losing 4 straight's a little bit of a surprise. There's a lot of teams feeling it. And then there's that Dallas game I mentioned. They were up 3-1 at the end of the second period in Carolina, and they lose in regulation. So the Dallas Stars, that's a disappointing loss tonight.
The only other games that are going on right now, we've got a 1-1 tie between, who is it out there on the West
The Ducks
Coast?
and Sharks.
Ducks and Sharks. I was bad-mouthing Trevor Zegras. Guess who scored?
Trevor Zegras.
Yeah, Zegras scores, and then a 1-0 game between the San Jose Sharks and the LA Kings.
Nico Sturm scoring for the Sharks.
A lot of former Avs scoring goals this evening. I'm looking at the Jack Eichel game winner here from Philadelphia. He took it nice and slow. The old Patrick Kane version against Philadelphia for the winner. It was a nice goal. Jack Eichel's a great fit in Vegas. I hate the fact that he's there, but they took a gamble on a guy with a neck injury, and he's looking every piece the number 2 overall pick that he was behind Connor McDavid. He's not McDavid, but he's a decent consolation prize.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegas, to me, they're still right there in the West, as is Colorado. They're still probably the 2 most reliable teams in this conference right now. So that'll be a good one on Wednesday night on TNT. Speaking of TNT, did you see? I'm sure you did.
I did.
Biz got assaulted by, he says, 7 guys at a restaurant. And he was like standing up for management who were trying to tell this group to like settle down or kick him out. And Biz just came over to help the restaurant out, and they end up attacking him. But Biz said he texted Dave Portnoy, who employs him or used to, and said, hey, they got some shots in, but I did too, against 7 dudes. I saw Biz put a video out. His face appeared to look okay. But that'll be interesting to hear about on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that will be interesting. This is a good ambassador for the game right now. And
don't mess. Why would you mess with that dude? Fought. That's what he did.
That's what people do, man. They see someone who's famous or someone they recognize, and you want to make a name for yourself. You want to prove that you can beat a guy who is an enforcer in the league. And yeah, people are idiots. People are dumb when they go out and they have a few drinks with their buddies and they get some beer muscles. So please don't do that when you see people that you listen to or see on television. Don't be an asshole is the theme of tonight's show. But Spring, I think that's it. That's about all I got tonight on a horrible performance. But as Bedsy said, sweep it under the rug. You get to talk about it for a little bit. You get to hammer your team, and I'm sure he did after that first period. Hammer his team. After tonight, you burn the tape, you move on, and you look at the big picture and you say, we're 2 games above 500 with everything that's happened, bad goaltending, bad starts, all of the injuries, suspensions, absences from the team. You're 2 games above 500. You just went on an East Coast road trip and got 3 out of the possible 4 wins. You should take the positive, move on, and get ready for Vegas because that is a legit test.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll keep an eye on the health of Jonathan Drouin, who, you don't want to see anyone going out. I'm sick of that. So we'll keep an eye on the status of Drouin, who was out tonight with an upper body injury.
That'll do it for us tonight. For our friends at Safeway, it's Between the Pipes. Alex Ryanemi alongside Mark Springer, your best and most continuous Avalanche coverage after every single game right here on Altitude Sports Radio's X, YouTube, and Twitch account. Spring will be back on the air in just a couple of days. Wednesday night, Avs against the Vegas Golden Knights. That's at home. You can listen to it on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Post-game show with me and Spring will happen sometime around 11 or 11:15. Maybe you're coming back from the bar. If you're back home for Thanksgiving, maybe you just want to get away from your family for a little bit. Tune in after the Avs take on the Golden Knights. We can't wait to see you guys there. Spring, I will see you tomorrow, my friend.